Who lived in the house?
George Washington. It's George. It's George Washington. His mother kept a garden in the back of the yard, his house. She tended it with pride, for in it was growing something very special. It was a little cherry tree, which had been planted when George was born. Every evening, George and his father stopped to see how much it had grown. Someday we will sit under the tree, and the cherries will fall into our laps," said Father. Everything, and then you'll eat them," added George happily. George was always in his father's together. They went riding through the... Oh, hi.
Hello. Facebook.
Hey. They went riding through the fields, or racing by the river. When wood was needed, they went into the forest, which delighted George most of all. Standing in the shade of the milly trees, he watched the men work there, chopping hatchet, burying the slices of the forest into the trees, come crashing down. One night, as George was in his room, preparing for bed, Father walked in. "I have a surprise for you, son," he said. In his large excellent hands lay a shiny new hatchet. "You care a big boy now," he said, smiling. "The next time we need wood, you can help chop down a tree."
Very good.
That's what a small hatchet. All night George dreamed about his hatchet. He woke to find it flaring in the first light of the new day. "I wish we were going into the forest this morning," he said to himself. Alexus to try out his new hatchet. George dressed quickly and went out into the garden to look for something that he might need chopping.
Hello.
She's gone. A tree stood in the sunlight, just like the one in the forest. He thought. Weirdly, he stuck at it. Crash. Also, the tree was too large and his hatchet too small. George looked for something better to chop. Suddenly, he found the little tree, its cherries ripening on the branches. "Now that's a better size for my hatchet," George thought, circling the little cherry tree. Again and again, whoosh, crunch, splatters went flying in the air, and as George chopped, swinging his hatchet wildly, at last the cherry tree bent slowly over, and tumbled to the ground. At once George saw what a quickly thing he had done, but it was too late. All day he sat in his little room, afraid and sorry. That evening, Father said his usual voice to the tree. Seeing it, he cried, "Who could do such a hard thing?" His wife ran out to see what had happened. "But I saw no one," she said. "Who would come into a strange garden and do this?" "Someone chopped down our tree," shouted Father, "and someone will punished." Hearing his father's angry voice, George began to tremble. Slowly, he left his room, topped down the stairs, and went out into the garden. "Look at our tree, George," said Father. "Did you see anyone do this?" Believer George looked up and said, "Father, it was I." Slowly, the anger vanished from Father's face. He reached down and took George in his arms. "Sadness had left my heart," he said, "and in its place is pride. I am glad to have a son who tells the truth, and together we will plant in a new cherry tree."
And there's your cherry tree. The end.